Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is Andrew Turner, host and founder of the G&T Sessions podcast. And today we have two amazing guests, a worldwide first for this show, Mr. Hasan Kubba and Mr. Ash Ali. How are you guys?
Brilliant. Hi. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us, man. Great to be here.
I know that actually you are, major celebrities now in the world of the world that we now live in. Because obviously I have tried so many times to get you on this show, bribed you, sent packages of, cash in envelopes, sent limousines to your house, but now we get you, straight today. So it's good to see you finally.
Yeah.
I know you've been busy.
We told you to send gold, but you send us paper money, and we don't really accept paper money anymore.
Hold on, Ash, I didn't get any money. What's going on? Ash has been focusing all of it.
No, I asked Andrew to send us gold bars because we accept gold now.
Okay, I was going to send you some Ethereum to your crypto wallet, but I wasn't sure if it was. No, so thanks for coming on the show. So, I suppose you actually are very lucky, actually, because given we were just about to do this episode before the lockdown happened, we were doing that in the studio in King's Cross. So it's good to have you here virtually. So I know that obviously you have been pretty busy over the last few years, and I know that for anybody that's listening to this episode, if you don't know who Ash, Ali and Hasan Kubba are, then maybe could you just initially explain, give a bit of a intro to both of yourselves, just to help the audience to kind of orientate in who you are and what you're doing today. So Ash, do you want to kick it off?
Yeah, so hi everybody, my name is Ash Ali, and I've been around in the startup world for about 20 years now, so I'm an old folk now in the startup world. But I started my first website when I was 19 years old back in Birmingham, and I moved to London working for agencies and lots of cool different companies. And I eventually became the first marketing director of a company called Just Eat. And we raised £10.5 million there, did the first TV campaign there, built the marketing department, and we IPO'd that in 2014 for $1.5 billion. And then once that happened, I started to invest in multiple startups and work on several different projects. I worked on another company called Fair Exchange, which is an online marketplace for taxis and minicabs. I went over to Dubai whilst I was on holiday. And I thought, you know what, let's launch a on-demand laundry app. So I launched an online laundry app, which sold last year, which I got acquired. And then I met Hasan, and we wrote the book together and did some speaking and some investment work on some startups. And that's a quick wrap up to where we are.
Okay, that's great. That was a fast intro from Ash. Hasan?
Hey, I'm Hasan Kubba. So for me, I kind of was in the situation where I didn't know what I wanted to do at university. I come from an Iraqi background. I was born in Baghdad, and typical kind of immigrant background, you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer. So I was going down the path of becoming a doctor, and decided one day that this isn't what I want to do. I dropped out of university to the horror of my parents. And then I kind of had a long think about what I wanted. Ended up doing economics and decided I didn't want to work in the city. And I came across this online course about how to set up an online business and set up in a way that I can create a passive income, and sort of like inspired by the 4-hour work week by Tim Ferriss. Yeah. And so after a lot of fear and trepidation and failure to launch, I eventually 2 jobs later, I kind of took short stints at some firms in the city. I decided to launch my business. And a couple of years after that, I was actually living that lifestyle. It was a lot of hard work and dedication, but I was able to travel around afterwards, and I was kind of making money. And it was during that time when I met Ash at a business dinner. It was like we both had gone to a business dinner by chance, something that we don't often go to.
Looks like Ash is quite hungry today. He's actually eating his pen at the moment.
I've had a good lunch today. Actually, I've had a vegan burger today. How about that?
He's having a pen for dessert. Yeah.
But me and Hasan actually bonded over some bad steak, didn't we? Over that business dinner. Do you remember that, Hasan?
Yeah. And then again, by chance, because we live in the same part of London, I gave Ash a ride back home, and we stayed in touch. I had a lot of free time because my business was running itself. And that's when we started working together with startups, and he was getting a lot of startups pitching him for investment. I came on board as an investment partner. Ash liked my analysis, and then from there we started thinking about what it takes for a startup to be successful, or for entrepreneurs or a founding team to succeed. And that kind of came together to form what eventually became the book. And we never thought we'd get a book out. We never thought of ourselves as writers. But yeah, The Unfair Advantage has done pretty well. It came out early this year, 2020, and the paperback is due out next year as well, because it's done well despite COVID and despite all of that. So yeah, it's been quite a journey. I used to be really shy and couldn't talk on stage, and I once fainted at uni trying to give a talk to just a small room. Yeah.
That's sad. Yeah. No one believes that, right?
Yeah, and then
no one believes that.
We've both done TED Talks since then.
It's like dry ice and disco balls and stuff like that now.
Yeah, it's been a transformational journey, to be honest with you, and yeah, it's been amazing. Just the feedback we've got on the book, and we've had some reviews online that have done well, and like videos on YouTube and stuff, and it's been amazing, actually, Andrew.
No, thanks for the intro. I mean, I think it's. I mean, I was at your book launch in London, as Ash knows. I'm obviously with both of you, and it was really good to see the vibe. You know, the vibe at your book launch was just so positive, and so everybody just being so genuine to try and learn about everybody else. On the number of people I met there, and I remember it's great to see when you put so much effort into something of that. I mean, I don't know how long it takes you to write the book. It must have taken you a couple of years with it or something like that.
Yeah, it took quite a while, because it wasn't the actual writing itself that took long. It was, we were thinking about the concept, and we basically treated it like in the technology startup world, there's this idea that you need to sort of not try and make something perfect and make it fully formed from the get-go. You want to have an iterative approach where you create the minimum kind of thing that is the core functionality.
Bible book. Yeah,
that's right. Minimum viable book, and that's what we did. So we did this lean version of the book. We have very limited edition copies of those because we never actually published that in the end. But it was a 1 hour read, and it was the core concepts of the book, and that actually led us to getting a publishing deal. And and then it became the book. So we gave loads of talks. We did a lot of mentoring and coaching of startups, and that's what helped inform the book in the sense of where our founders struggling, because we both startup founders ourselves, me and Ash. So we kind of knew where they came from, but then we also got feedback from them. Where did they get confused? And I think that's what we owe the success of the book to, is the fact that we took so long. It was about 4 years, right, Ash, from the beginning to...
Yeah, well, I think we were talking about the concept for about 4.5 years, developing it.
Yeah.
You know, both me and Hasan were all over the world speaking about the ideas in the book and the stories. And what you see in the book now is a accumulation of all these cool ideas that we saw that connected with the founders. And because we're practitioners, we're entrepreneurs, we're founders ourselves, we wrote the book as we were running our businesses. Yeah. And so it took us much longer to do. So there's many a time when me and Has were sitting in a terminal of an airport, rewriting the contents page for the 100th time again, and thinking about what we should include in it and what we should take away. And it's been a fascinating journey, and I'm super glad to have worked with Hasan on the book, because without him, I don't think I'd be able to have got it done. It would probably take another 5 years on top of that.
It's interesting because reading your book, and this I'll show you the book. This is the book. For all those people who haven't seen it, this is for YouTube people looking at this video.
Oh, cool.
But the interesting thing is that what I found really good about it is a kind of your personal stories, and then but also then you actually start with some very famous or infamous or famous celebrities, you could say, in the tech world and the non-tech world. The kind of founders, kind of well-known people, from like Warren Buffett to Kylie Jenner to Ewan Spiegel. So you've got these people that it's quite modern and contemporary in the stories you share, and even the lady that did the Canva, the Australian lady did Canva. So, but then also, I think the great thing, which I think was a surprise to me at the end, was you actually then put the not only how you could audit yourself, with the Miles framework, but also the startup guide at the end, which is a bit like a mini, what I would call mini Eric Ries lean startup guide at the end of it as well. So you've packed a lot of value into it. It's kind of like, personalize it so people can relate to you and engage, kind of connect to you to say, even Ash and Hasan have had, a background that I can relate to. Before actually you go into the depths of actually, showing the path of how they could go down the path. Was that deliberate by how you did that?
I think we were super lucky that there's the two co-founders, me and Hasan, and co-authors. We come from different backgrounds, but we've got the same type of thinking in terms of some of the things that we're talking about. We related to each other. But it's really important for us to be able to show our thinking and the Miles framework and the concept of unfair advantage as case studies with other people that you're seeing in the press and you're seeing in all the tech magazines and the online portals, because we read a lot about them, about their tech success and the business success, but we never really get to understand who they are as people as well and what their backgrounds are and where they're coming from. And I think that's where we start to apply the Miles framework to some of their stories to say, here's what we've seen, and go deeper into their background. Because, our thinking is that the success of a startup in the early days starts up with the founders themselves. Your own unfair advantages, bringing it. And that's where you need to start yourself as a business, as a project. So why not look at the people who are founding the companies first and then thinking about how those things have extrapolated into success and other areas of startup success.
Yeah, and the thing that backs up is the kind of the quote you think from, is it Aileen or Eileen from Passion Capital? About the actual, it's not just about the idea or the traction, it's actually about the founding team, which is, spot on from my experience working in Silicon Valley as well. They buy into the team and are they, what are the superpowers? It's, my analogy to your unfair advantage is what are the superpowers that the team have got that they don't really realize they've got. And you actually need to do a bit of looking in the mirror to realize actually your backstory and your whatever you've done in your Miles framework, whichever way you've come from. I came from Yorkshire, you came from Birmingham, you came from Baghdad, So we've all got different backgrounds, but actually, I was smiling when I was reading some of these stories about, my first job. I used to sweep up at Woolworths. The store. My first job was sweeping the floor in Woolworths. Being a Saturday lad working on the computer desk. Trying to sell Commodore 64s and Spectrums. Is that And then 20 years later, I ended up, running worldwide sales for a Silicon Valley startup. So, how could you forecast that? It's just, it's mind blowing, right?
Yeah.
So, a number of your stories that you were talking about, a bit like the story with you, Hasan, where you were in the Philippines and you gave the money to the children on the street, and with the water bottle, the Evian water bottle. There's some really nice stories I think you've got in the actual in the book. So I mean, I only have praise for you for doing this. It's very. I mean, it must be. It sounds like it's a very long time to do it, but you're now getting the feedback, the positive feedback, and it makes it feel worthwhile. I hope it does. I hope it feels worthwhile.
Yeah, we've been blown away. It's been mind-blowing, the number of emails we get from all over the world from people who are super excited about the book and how it's changed their life. We just had an email the other day where someone was saying that I was going through a really tough time in my business and I realize now what it is that I need to do and you've just changed my life altogether. And that was like phenomenal email. And that was a recent email that we had. So the impact on people's lives. And for us, it's like getting a different voice into the marketplace. We're not from Silicon Valley. We're not Ivy League, 45-year-old males, balding head, white, with the angle of coming through and saying, this is how it's done.
Yeah.
We are from the inner city and we've been raised and born here in the UK. So the UK slant on the angle is really important for us as well. And I think a lot of people have said that to us about the startup books and the business books that they read, that the UK side was... angle was really inspiring for them and also relatable as well.
Well, as we all know, there's not enough unicorns in UK and Europe, is there? So, or decacorns, as they call them now, I think. Or I've heard a new phrase called soonicorns. I don't know that. Soonicorns.
What's a soonicorn?
Soon to be a unicorn.
So that's every startup then that I mentor or me mentor then. Isn't it, Hasan?
Yeah.
So there you go. You got a new hashtag out of today's session, you see.
Soonicorn.
So given your amazing success from the book, then what's next then? I mean, I've got loads of ideas I want to throw at you in a second, but I just want to hear what you plan to do or what you are doing. Post your bathing in your admiration and people tipping their hat and saying, "Brilliant job." What's next?
That's what this new series that we're calling Success Decoded is all about. We got a lot of good feedback on the book, and especially the case studies. And people want to hear about how did people find their success. And so, in contrast to, there's a lot of stuff out there like really pedestalizing and lionizing these startup founders or billionaires or whatever.
The superhero journey, the kind of the Iron Man analogy, isn't it, with Elon Musk and things like that.
Things like that, exactly. And what we like to bring to the table is the idea of, the core concept is this idea that we don't live in a pure meritocracy. There's no such thing as a pure meritocracy. There's always an element or big elements of luck involved, serendipity and luck. And, most of the top guys and top people, they're quite self-aware of that, actually. Surprisingly, they might forget it, but then if you bring their conscious attention to it, they'll be like, yeah, absolutely. Luck plays a huge role. And that's one of the things that we want to highlight with this series is, where did they get lucky? What are their unfair advantages? In other words, where can we... So one sense in terms of looking up to them is to kind of say, what can we learn from them? Which is what kind of every business publication does when it kind of looks at biographies of successful business people. But then there's also the idea of saying, what can we not learn from them because they were lucky to be either born with some kind of talent or born in some sort of circumstances or set of circumstances which allowed them to have that success, or just some serendipity or luck. And it's kind of highlighting where they had their unfair advantages, what they were, and also where we can learn from their mindset, their grit, their determination, their vision, etc. So the first one we're doing is Elon Musk, which is been very fascinating. With his
very well followed, exactly.
His Tesla stock price going up like crazy nowadays. As of recording this podcast, I'm just finishing up the PayPal chapter, which I've been working on for a while, but because the PayPal mafia is so fascinating, and it's something that I'm working on.
Peter Thiel, you mean people like that? You mean with the Peter Thiel? He was there as well, wasn't he?
That's right, Peter Thiel, Reid Hoffman. Loads of guys.
The PayPal bossy,
exactly. It's fascinating to see how much impact they've had on the world of Silicon Valley tech startups, the world of internet culture, venture capital, etc. But that's at the moment that's a completely non-commercial project. No advertising, nothing to sell on it. But we're just kind of trying to
don't sell out. Hold out. Do it as a community project.
What was that? It's a community project, did you say?
I said don't sell out. Don't take any sponsorship.
I get frustrated. See, we have that British angle, as Ash mentioned earlier. We don't like when podcasts or TV shows have too many adverts and it's over the top, and I just can't stand all those sponsored ads. A little bit is okay, and I completely understand it.
Just to be clear, though, Hasan, the G&T Sessions podcast is available for sponsorship. Yeah,
okay,
for the right price. The right price, or the right type of gin, the right type of gin brand that wants to sponsor the podcast. I'm joking.
Yes. So no, but I'm not against sponsorships, but I'm against I think with the way the media is in the UK, we have far fewer adverts just on normal television than they do in America. So it's the same is true for radio. We're used to having BBC and stuff like that, where it's not overly commercial. So I think sponsorships are fine. Just the way they overdo them sometimes isn't great, but not every podcast is like that. So no, it's not that I've been selling out if I do get sponsored.
I'm joking.
Neither are you, Andrew. But I'm thinking of kind of offering some services eventually as a way to kind of make it a social enterprise and kind of have something at the end of it. So that's kind of what we're working on, and we're
is that a joint
about
project?
Doing more training.
Is a joint project? So this Success Decoded, is that a joint project with?
That one's actually mainly me hosting and researching it. However, it's based on our company. Ash is a business partner with me, and it's something we're developing together as a services behind that. So we're thinking of doing some business coaching because there's so much demand for it. I was resisting it, and then I thought to myself, when I've been doing mentoring, that's essentially coaching. We're both really into ed tech, education, training and upskilling. So thinking of doing online courses and stuff further down the line, we'll have to make sure it's really, really good. And that's why I think coaching is important first. Otherwise, it doesn't work out well. It's only got like a 10% completion rate, or if that, online courses. So these are the things we're thinking about with the unfair advantage thing. It's kind of essentially Success Decoded is almost like another book, but it's being released for free, chapter by chapter, as a podcast and email series. And then we're also thinking of doing other stuff and helping entrepreneurs, empowering more people to get into it, especially underprivileged people, people from working class backgrounds and stuff like that. We really want to help people like that.
I think there's still a lot of...
Which, to be clear, we all are. All the people on this podcast are from working class backgrounds.
Yeah, which is a different angle we're coming from, I suppose, in that sense as well. But the thing is that the book came out in January, and it's done phenomenally well all over the world, and we've got so much more scope. America is on our radar as well. We've got people from America sending us emails saying, "Where can I get this book from?" And what was the story?
It's not in America. Is it not in America?
Not yet. No.
Oh really? Oh wow!
No, it's the UK and Commonwealth. What was the story, Hassan, about the guy who ordered something and he went to the HMS ship? What was the story?
I don't know. Basically, there are some Americans getting in touch with us, and we're like, "How did you even get the book?" And some of them have used VPNs to get the Kindle version. Some of them have ordered it from Amazon.co.uk and paid an arm and a leg for shipping.
Really?
It's been it's been quite funny. So we actually retained the publishing rights for US and Canada, and COVID's put things on hold a little bit. But we can go in there. So we can publishing deal there.
So the scope is really big, I mean, it's our.
Hey, I'm just waiting for the swag. I want the hoodies, the hoodies and the baseball caps I can put backwards. So what about you? What about you then, Ash? I know you're busy in a few other things as well, aren't you?
I mean, of course, me and Hassan work together on lots of different projects, and there's so much more scope yet for the book itself. And because of COVID now, we had a book tour and a speaking tour organized as well, which had to finish off early. But hopefully next year, when events start happening again and things change, hopefully then we'll be back on the scene again and talking to more people, because so many more people need to still haven't got access to the book yet and haven't had a chance to read it, or they've listened to the TED Talk, and we want to be able to reach those people. And to do that, I think it's a great way for us to, one of the things that we're very fond of is to be there in person. And there's a lot of authors you never see and you never get, and you can send them an email and they probably don't even reply, but we reply to all our emails and we get in touch with and communicate and talk to our users.
But you see that comes across. You see that comes across with the way you've written the book. It comes across as very personal. It comes across as kind of like a true. It's like, I wouldn't say it's an autobiography, but it's a bit like, it is a bit autobiographic and biographic as well at the same time, and a toolkit. I mean, and also I feel also that the way you've written it, it's a bit like there is like another book. You can feel like there's another book there, another few books in there. You feel like you. It feels like no, but it feels. I'm not trying to give you more work. I know you're busy, but I feel like you feel like that Carpenter song. You've only just begun. It's a bit like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look. I mean, we've just scratched the surface right now. And there's so much more. And I think that the industry's now, talking about mental health and talking about diversity and inclusion and talking about access to opportunities and the skills gaps in digital skills. It's widening. And, with COVID now and more people thinking about their careers and what's happening next in the future in universities and education and what people want to learn, more and more people are choosing entrepreneurship as a career, as an option. So the book is at that point where it's going to give you the advice and guidance to be able to look at yourself and look at your strengths and double down on them and your circumstances.
Well, my just to let you know, my son on Thursday got 9 GCSEs.
Oh wow! Congratulations.
He got six A's and 3 B's, I think it was.
Wow!
So
Great, great job.
I think I probably won't see him for a week now. He's probably going to go a partying, even though he's. But that's so. One of the things I'm actually going to do is I'm going to give him a copy of your book because I think it's to give a 16-year-old. I don't know what's your earliest reader of your book, but maybe get some feedback from him at some point in the future.
We had a 14-year-old send us an email, right, Hasan, about how it's changed his life. 14 years old.
Yeah.
Well, you see, you look at like even. I mean, it's no earlier story in your book, but like the Snapchat guy, Ewan Spiegel, isn't it? And but he got coached or mentored by Scott Cook. Is it the Intuit guy who I mean, I've spent a few decades in technology. He's a bit of a legend in the Valley and building small business accounting packages and evolving Intuit to be a kind of worldwide success. So but that's I don't know if that's luck or that's. What is that? Is that his family connection because of his father, because he's been a lawyer?
Yeah.
It's all those kind of things. But once you've had that, it kind of accelerates that person's ability to do something interesting in the future. So it's interesting how you get that leg up into, I suppose, depending what the appropriate stage, because you don't want to make people too old too soon.
True.
Yeah, I mean, I'm working on a startup right now called Uhubs, which is we allow people to connect with global experts around the world and learn new skills. And one of the internal sayings is that we're trying to democratize access to skills education. And if you don't have the connections, then there are ways of getting those connections by coming online and listening to an expert and connecting with them and learning and becoming a lifelong learner. So there are ways of now making more connections. But then if you're in that environment already and you've grown up in that environment and your family already have those connections, then it's always going to be an unfair advantage. But if you haven't got that, then you can develop that unfair advantage by going out there and speaking to people. And I found it very humbling that when we bring on experts onto our platform out on Uhubs, that they're all very eager to help people and make a difference and distill their wisdoms. So people are willing to do that now. And there's a lot more skilled people. There used to be a time in the early days when, finding a tech person was really difficult. But now every other person's got a startup or a tech person in their black book or someone they can introduce you to. So it's just a matter of asking and connecting with them. And there's a whole chapter in the book about, a section in the book about how to find a mentor. People ask that.
I think Hasan wrote some of that, didn't he? Yeah, I'll lay on that bit, yeah.
That's right, yeah. So there's a whole chapter in there. I mean, Hasan gets that question all the time. So there's a whole section in there about how to find a mentor. And these are some of the common questions we get. So we try and help people with that and say that there are ways of finding that. Just because somebody else has had an advantage doesn't mean that you can't have that advantage as well, or you can't develop it. Or there are ways of developing your own as well.
So it sounds like, it's about catching it at the right time as well, isn't it? Because if you think, when I started in tech, 30 years ago, it wasn't the cool thing to do.
Yeah.
It's like people going, why are you doing that? It's a bit of a strange career choice.
Yeah, it was IT, wasn't it?
It was called IT, but I was a developer, many years ago, and then I became, obviously did various different roles, then became a bit more commercial sales orientated, marketing stuff. But then a lot of the basics haven't changed. But then now people, I remember the Daily Standard or whatever it was, the Evening Standard. It's like Google or Goldman. Yeah. Previously, people, to your point, Hasan, people would go straight into investment banking. But now, obviously Google probably had its day now. It's a lot different from what it was 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Well, it was around 20 years ago. But so I suppose it's working out how people can build their new, take their idea and actually make it something that's can have an impact on the world. And it's a lot more accessible now. It was a bit of a kind of a specialized, I wouldn't say cult, but it was kind of like quite a niche. It's kind of become more mainstream now.
Mm-hmm. Well, my parents still think I fix printers. So every time I go back to Birmingham, there's always a cousin who wants a printer fixed or a PC fixed. But I said that on the stuff.
Those damn HP cartridges. Yeah.
I mean, people still use those, right? So, it's always going to be.
You were described as the whiz kid. You're the whiz kid from Birmingham, were you?
Oh, yeah. They used to describe me as that, but I was never a hardcore engineer, right? A lot of people get confused and they think that the tech industry is just full of engineers. But it's not. You need marketing people, you need commercial people, UX people. There's a whole bunch of other people that work within this industry. It's not just coders and engineers with hoodies sitting there coding away. I mean, yes, there are a lot of those, but there's also a lot of other people who are deciding what problems to solve and how to solve it and how to get the customers and how to do that elegantly. We talk at the start of the book where we said that most startups, it's easy now to build a startup and build a product, but it's hard to get traction. It's hard to get growth. And so this is where we start off in the book. And I do all my presentations starting off with that when I do a marketing one about it's actually quite easy to do a blog now and set up a website, but how do you get customers? How do you get traction? And so that's where, developing your unfair advantage around yourself as a founder could help.
Well, I think also that thing that you said, I mean, because it's a bit like, what I see with you two, the style of how you are is you're, Hassan, you come across as more analytical, yeah? More kind of the researcher type person, where Ash comes across as more the kind of the guy in the circus with the top hat, with the elephants, kind of like, with the very bright jacket on, No, but you see, you're a good. What I'm saying is, you're a good combination. Yeah. You're complementary. But
it's true. Ash is the extrovert. I'm the introvert. I'm the more
okay. That's logical. I wasn't going to. Well, no, that's what I suppose that's another way of describing it. It's just. I think, But then I think
also Ash has just got that. He was more comfortable going on stage from the beginning, right? So it was more kind of up his street, and we all have that. That's why we start with. Well, what are the three things we say? Start with your why. What is it that you want to achieve? And don't just do things just because it seems cool or everybody else thinks it's cool in society, right? Mm-hmm. And secondly, then figure out, once you figure that out, like what are your values or what do you want? Secondly, figure out what's your personality like? What would be to your strength? What kind of career path? What kind of project? What kind of startup? What kind of role? What kind of job? And then after that, you think about your unfair advantages, which includes your talents, which is the internal side of it, where you're strong at naturally, but then also your external things, which is circumstantial, which is the thing that is never discussed really. So that's the starting point. Yeah.
So you're saying
we're quite different in that sense, Ash and I.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit like you've got different inventory, but then actually the sum of the parts is incredibly powerful because.
Absolutely. Well, I call him Hassan and Kubbapedia. Surname's Kubbapedia. Every time I mention a stat or something, he'll know the answer to it and go, hang on a sec, Ash, does that make sense? I'm like, I don't know, can you check Kubbapedia? And he'll come back and say, oh, this is actually different. It's not what it means. It's like, oh, okay. So, I suppose, I didn't go into detail in my personal story because I don't want to take too much of my time up talking about it. But when I was 13 years old, I did a paper round. And when I was 16, I was selling CDs illegally. And then
surely not, Ash. That's not like you.
So it's kind of weirdly in my blood in that sense, by nature and nurture, right? They talk about that, but I kind of like always wanted to make a difference to my. I wanted to do something to achieve some success, and then I dropped out of college, right? I didn't go to university, so I had to prove something to myself. And when I was 19 years old, in the attic in Birmingham, building this website, everyone was looking at me going, "What's wrong with you?" I didn't go to any social events, and then. When I turned 19...
You mean Ash the recluse?
I was literally stuck on the internet. 56K modem days. I engaged the phone line for months and weeks, and my parents got so angry they pulled the wires out at one stage. You can't use this thing anymore. And I remind my father of that, actually.
You're going to get a double socket so you can have...
We had a double socket, but I don't know, in those days, a double socket, I was on it all day long, so it didn't matter. I didn't have the setup then, the tech setup. So, but and then when I turned 19, there's going to be a lot of, when you start a project and when you start anything new, there's going to be a lot of naysayers and a lot of people are going to criticize you, and a lot of people don't understand what you're doing. And it's really hard, but you have to keep pushing through and getting to know who you are. And as I've got older now, we start to build more self-awareness. And, the Miles framework is a way to build self-awareness for who you are as an individual. That's why we've not written it as a prescriptive book, but something that every person who reads the book will bring something different from it, and their own strength from it, and develop themselves. So It's never wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and then Hasan did this and then I did this and you should do that as well. And that's going to create success. There's no clear route to success or a formula in that sense. I think everyone just, it's really messy, basically.
So that's where you kind of use the Milestone. It's just trying to do a self-reflective audit, and then basically you're giving the toolkit at the end to try and show you the steps in the path. Yeah, give you some kind of guidance, basically. Yeah.
Absolutely, because success in startups is it's really difficult, right? How do you define success? So most startups fail, right? So how do you improve the odds of success? And how do you make your life easier mentally as well, from a mental well-being perspective, and understanding, like Hasan was saying, why are you doing it and what's the outcome? Why are you trying to do this? And sometimes people think it's being an entrepreneur is like a superstar or a pop star. It's like, yeah, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm doing a startup, and it's really tough. It's really hard. So the book was written when it's the book that I wanted to read when I was starting out when I was 21 years old.
Yeah.
It's like, oh wow, I needed to understand this. I needed someone to guide me and mentor me throughout the process, and I never had that. And, the only thing I did have is the library and books that I could read. And I looked around me and everyone else had parents who were professional in the industry to give them insights. And I got super lucky that, one of my friends was in the shoe business, and then he wanted a website made with me. So we sat down together and said, okay, let's make a website. And otherwise that would have never happened. Because my network wasn't there anyway. And I was 19 years old, stuck in attic, just messing around on 56K mode and internet, building websites and trying to work out how to do basic coding. So but I've turned out to be a marketing director, and marketing is it's just not coding. A lot of people think tech is coding, so changing the mindset of that is important.
I think that's what we need to get Ash to do, is start developing now, get more technical.
Yeah, the way I see this is that in a team you got to know what your strengths are, and there's so many other talented people who are better at some of the things that you need to know. I know Hasan is really, really strong at taking complex ideas and simplifying them and making them readable and understandable. This is why his new podcast is brilliant on Elon Musk, because he's unbundling the thinking and the books that there's plenty of books about Elon Musk. But
that's what I was going to say. This is why I felt when I read your book. There's I dare ask you how much stuff there is behind it. But I think, the skill is about how do you curate and distill it down into and edit it down to the what you can put on that page. And I think I'm going to take away from this the Hubopedia idea. I think that's fantastic. That's a fantastic. I think that should be a new hashtag.
Hang on a second, Andrew. You can't steal my calls for your calls, I know.
But I think, one of the ideas I got for you guys was, and I don't know whether you've already thought about this, you probably have done. There's this thing called, I know that with Uhubs, you've got like masterclasses. Yeah, because the thing I was just going to say was, I don't think you've ever considered, but there's like a Mastermind, that kind of level. I don't know if you thought about that, because I think that it depends. It's obviously different people are at different stages of the journey in relation to their understanding. And obviously there's probably a lot of people that read your book and they nod and they go, this is good validation that you've done all this desk research and you've found all these jewels and you organize them into a way that somebody can consume it. But actually, there's probably, I dare ask you, how much more, I get the feeling there's much more material that you can actually share. And maybe then you work out how that material would then go into different levels of people or different levels of maturity of people's journeys, I suppose.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff that ends up on the metaphorical cutting room floor. I think as we were writing, we'd have this file which was like it's like cuttings, I think I used to call it, or something, where it's just like paragraphs, sentences, where it's like, I need to consider cutting this, just because you need to. The way to create anything is it becomes too complex at first, and then you simplify it down again. And you have to. There's this metaphor which I don't really like, but it's used a lot. Where you have to kill your babies. Basically, you write these sentences and paragraphs that you love, and then you have to just cut them brutally out of the book and think, okay,
I cried so many times, Andrew. I cried so many times.
all these chapters that we have to cut, and all these like things that we've worked on, and think, okay, you know what, that doesn't fit the overall theme. For example, the education chapter, we went into the whole education system, why we think it isn't working well.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. That's quite topical.
This is beyond the scope of the book, and we have to stick to the theme, and we have to kind of keep it really tight and coherent and cogent, and so yeah, you have to do that.
You're going to go for the Tolstoy approach, really, like the War and Peace, kind of like.
yeah, exactly. But that's not that's what would make it less readable. So we get a lot of compliments that it's a page turn, and I think that's why. Just stick to the core theme. Don't go off into any big tangents. Tell some fun stories and stuff, of course. Don't keep it dry, but at the same time, don't start introducing new concepts and topics outside of the scope of what the reader's trying to achieve or what the theme of the book is. You mentioned Masterminds. We're both big believers in Masterminds. In fact, that's something I'm thinking of setting up at the moment, is a mastermind of like content creators. As I'm creating more content and getting into the habit of it, that's one of the things we've been doing since the book. Another thing is in terms of coaches. Coaching has been an interesting thing I've been studying a lot lately. It's something that I shied away from at first, because just like the word entrepreneur, it's not regulated.
It's got like a perception against it. Yeah.
Exactly, because there's no regulation behind it. It's like here in the UK, anybody can call themselves a nutritionist, because you don't need a qualification for that. Actually, dietitian is the one that needs a qualification, not a nutritionist.
Right.
So coach can be like that. So basically, you can get a wide variety of people who are really bad, have no clue, calling themselves coaches or life coaches, and their own life is a mess, calling themselves business coaches where they haven't set up a lemonade shop stand.
Right.
So the point is, but actually, if you look at the top level coaching, and in fact, the CEO of Google recently came out with a book called $1 Trillion Coach. And it turns out Steve Jobs had a coach, and the Google guys had coaches and stuff like that. And this concept of a coach from sports and coming into everyday life, people getting more into having personal trainers, having that accountability, having somebody to ask you about your goals, helping you to clarify things. I've been more into it just because I've been more into the education lately. So I think I've been thinking more about masterminds, more about coaching, ways to set up social dynamics and systems to help you to achieve your goals much more effortlessly. It's like a hack. It's like if you want to become, one of the cliches they say is if you want to be healthy, fit and healthy, make sure the people you hang out with are fit and healthy. Like you're not gonna sit and eat junk food with them and binge drink and binge smoke and whatever. Like, do you know what I mean? So it's way off.
That's back to the kind of the 5 people that the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Exactly.
Yeah. So it's we're social creatures, and we like to think of ourselves. And I used to think of myself in this way, as an island. No man is an island. We have to be very conscious of who we spend time with, and we should consciously create masterminds, consciously create coaching groups. I've taken a lot of online courses, and they've really helped, and things like that. I think I want to help to develop that more. And Uhubs does an amazing job with that, with Uhubs as well.
No, that's. I suppose that I wasn't trying to be. I suppose I was just, and Ash is here as well, the co-founder of Uhubs. So I'm sure he's going to give us a view on this as well. But
yeah,
I suppose it's this different. What I saw was different levels. The guy you actually recalling was Bill Campbell, who was the coach to Eric Schmidt, the coach to the Google founders. He was coach to Steve Jobs, in Silicon Valley, and he unfortunately passed away a few years ago. But literally, he was the Uber coach, the coach to all the I suppose you could call it Tech Glitterati, as I would call it, or as Scott Galloway from New York Stern calls the Death Stars. I don't know if you've seen that image recently. shown all, like Apple, Google, Facebook, Amazon, all those Death Stars from the Star Wars analogy. So
he's charismatic, isn't he, Galloway? He's very entertaining.
He's extremely entertaining.
Articulate and entertaining, but not always right with his predictions. Let's put it that way.
No, I think did he even recently say Tesla's overvalued? I don't know, man. Doesn't look that way.
He did say that. Yeah, he said all sorts of stuff.
If you look at his history, he's got a lot of stuff right. So I think his score rate is more ticks than crosses. I think.
Really?
At least he has the what do you call it? The Buster Gonads to actually say something, because some people I think just far too politically correct. So him and Cara Swisher on their Pivot podcast is very entertaining. And I'm a big shout out again to Mr. Galloway. If you want to come on the GNT Sessions podcast, future guest, please do come on this. Please do call me. So I mean, I suppose on that masterclass or mastermind concept, what do you think about that, Ash? Is that something that would float your boat, so to speak, or?
I think, me and Hassan have spoken about the fondness of having the right people in your network. The challenge is that it's the quality of the mastermind group and how it's created and how it's formulated.
I agree.
And I think there's some people who are trying to take advantage of it as a business opportunity to make money from it. And there's other people who are doing it as a real mastermind where there's real value. And a lot of the times I've been to masterminds, I don't like to be the smartest person in the room. I want to be one of the dumbest people in the room. And if I'm the smartest person in the room, then I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? Why am I spending time here? I like to be around people who are leveling up in a different way. And they're very hard to get, catch those people. They don't have time. We're all super busy. So catching time from us is really, really hard. So creating a mastermind group is hard. But I think it depends on where you're at and what your visions are. And if you bond, there's chemistry between everybody as well. I'm kind of a natural extrovert, and I'm out and I'll say it direct and I'm out there. But if you're like, you're going to pussyfoot around me and stuff, I'm going to be like, dude, this is not how I think and work. I'm just straight to the point, and this is how it is, and I want to hear it as it is, and I want to get it back as it is as well.
There's no dancing around the handbags with Ash.
No, not at all. We do have a lot in common, by the way. We spoke a lot about our differences. Ash and I have a lot in common too, so it's quite funny because that's how we became friends before we became business partners and co-authors. So
what would you say are common between you then? What's the common traits?
We like food and we're unhealthy. The 5 people in your network.
We're bad influences on each other on food. Yeah, that's true. That's number one. No, number two, we both have this rebellious streak where we don't like authority. We both have this rebellious streak where we kind of have a disdain for authority, where we don't like to have a boss, and we both like to do things our own way. We have that entrepreneurial side to us. Ash had it more naturally. I kind of developed it, but I do have this rebellious side from when I was younger as well. So we have that in common. We have that creative side, even though Ash is more.
So what you're saying is, if I was going to do a school report on you guys, given the exam results just come out, it would be going difficult to control. Yeah,
difficult to control. Yeah, I was quite good at school. Ash is more difficult to control. But,
He's smiling. He's
rebellious when I got older. Yeah. Yeah, Ash is fidget his way, and he'll distract the other kids in class.
I'm kind of I think this is the thing with intelligence, right? When you're scoring intelligence at schools and you're testing for it, they never test for creative intelligence, right? I'm a creative guy, so how's that working? How do you can't test for that? So I'm just an anomaly. You cannot test for that. It's just what you memorize on an exam paper, I think, and pass. And it's kind of weird for me. And I felt the whole structure was difficult for me. I wasn't very academic, but thinking about that, I actually read a lot of books. I read a ton of books, and right now we've authored this book, so I know what the process is of going through and writing a book. And the clarity it brings to your mind when you write a book is unbelievable, because there's so many things in our head that me and Hassan had, and then putting it down on paper and then going to the cutting board and then cutting away most of it and making it audience based, about the audience, not about us. This is the key.
But I think the other thing that I agree completely with what you said is about that kind of thing about being smart and being street smart. And then there's the piece around having IQ and EQ. So a lot of the in the last few years I've spent quite a bit of time with lots of different founders in different countries, and been helping them on trying to work out their growth plan. And they have some. They all want to be unicorns. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then
unicorns.
They're all unicorns want to be unicorns, and they all want decathorns ultimately, like some other people.
Yeah.
And then, but they also they don't actually know how to get there. Yeah. And also, my other observation is that they're still working on themselves, and they need to work more on themselves. And they may have a high IQ, but they don't necessarily have the EQ developed to the level where they could be a true, authentic leader.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you've come across that as well, but that's one of my observations.
No, absolutely. There's people spike in different skill sets. And knowing what you spike in terms of your graphing is spiking in terms of if you're an extrovert and you got a certain type of intelligence. But if you're super intelligent, then you should, and you don't have the, for example, tech skills, when you find someone who can do the tech skills, it depends on, you need to know who you are as a person, but also through a startup project, don't think that this is going to be your only one. When you start, you get addicted, like me, right? You start getting addicted to this whole process and you want to do another one and then another one and then another one. And becomes like a serial entrepreneurship type of thing. And most entrepreneurs that you hear about who are super successful now have done like 6 or 7 things beforehand that you've never heard of. And so it's a journey. And so knowing that it's a journey and that you're going to be growing through that journey and knowing who you are as an individual, what you like and dislike is going to be important. But it's the fastest way to learn because you've got now you've got skin in the game. You're in the market. You're not sitting there doing an MBA and thinking about doing a business. You're actually doing it. You've got skin in the game and
it's very real.
Yeah. It's real. So that makes a big difference in how you grow. So I think I've grown in my startups quite a lot. I don't know. I've grown in my personality and trying to understand myself a bit more. But, going back to why, what kind of commonalities that we have. One of the things I really like about Hasan and all the team people that I work with in my co-founding teams is about having integrity and trust. And I think that really, it comes down to integrity and trust. Now, projects can fail and not work, but as long as you've got integrity and trust with each other, you can do another project. And that's where the senior entrepreneurship line comes in. We could do another book. We can do another, there's so many things you can do. It never stops. So integrity and trust is like the foundation to both our kind of like commonalities, but also why we relate to each other, because we have different skill sets, yes, but we have the commonality of the traits that make us connect together.
Yes,
and those are important.
Like a Venn diagram, isn't it? You've got an intersection. You've got a very strong foundation intersection. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Hasan, any thoughts on that? To share with?
I was thinking about what else we have in common. I was thinking that we both have a very low tolerance for boredom. So if something is not interesting or valuable, we both switch off. Like we've walked out of like seminars and conferences before just because we didn't find ourselves getting value, and we can't really tolerate it. We have this thing within us where we just can't sit there and just that's something
that's a good point. Yeah, that's true. The other thing is also, I think both of us have really a lot of curiosity. We're very curious people. And that's a connection point. Like Hasan is like, he's listening to like 5 podcasts in one go and reading 10 books and, listening to 10 videos on YouTube. We're all very curious. We're both very curious. We're always reading things. We're always listening.
You're voracious in your consumption. Yeah.
Yeah, but from a curious perspective. I think that's the key thing. Like, we're not doing it just because we want to entertain ourselves or pass an exam or something. We're just curious about how the world works, how life works, and how people work, and how things are put together, and how we can unbundle them for ourselves, for our own personal growth, but also for other people as well. And hence why the book is there. It's
good to get some aha moments, isn't it? When you learn something, or you read something, or you go, that's why that happened. Oh, that's aha.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where, coming back to your mastermind, in Uhubs, one of the things that we realize is that you need to gain knowledge in certain areas. A lot of people don't have skills that they still need to gain knowledge on. So there's no point having a mastermind if you haven't got skills. And if you want to create a mastermind on people who are the top people in search engine optimization, if you go to that mastermind with no skill set already, then your questions are going to be so basic that you're not going to be valuable to that mastermind. So,
I think there's a hierarchy. I think there's a hierarchy. There's a travelator to that to that level. I suppose. What I was trying to give you feedback on was saying, looking at the kind of the foundations of what you built already or what you are building. He was asking that question because I can see in the future a logical evolution of your partnership into something like that potentially in the future. It's just an idea.
No, absolutely. Because I think, one thing, there's a skills gap. And so what we want people to do is to commit themselves into learning something. So in our 60-minute masterclasses on Uhubs, you can get that understanding. But one of the other things we're doing is what we call accountability classes. So you just turn up after 2 weeks and talk about what you've applied or what you've not applied. It's so much about learning something, but you need to be accountable on something. And that's what a mastermind creates. But then also you need to reflect on that as well. So a lot of the time...
You need to read more Jocko Willink.
Oh, okay. So you need to reflect on that as well. But the key thing, I think, is in a mastermind is that you need people who are doers, not just people who read, because then they're learning from the market, and that market knowledge and information is coming back into the mastermind. Exactly. So we're it's about doers, and sometimes you can join a mastermind where everyone's just still learning, and you're like has anyone built a website here? We're just thinking about building a website, so it's like, come on, it's like you need to have the doers in there. So I think what Hasan was saying about curation of the mastermind and having curated a good mastermind makes a big difference. Otherwise, it can be a waste of time. And just
it's really, that's another thing we have in common. It's like practitioners. We're both practitioners and wrote a book, and we never talk about things that we don't have experience with ourselves. Like we literally, it's not theoretical knowledge. And that's another thing in terms of like, we can smell out if somebody's just repeating stuff they've learned only theoretically. And we can't really tolerate that, because
you can tell by the language, can't you? You can tell by the language and their stories. If you've got their stories are credible and evidence based. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they'll know what they're talking about, right? Like we can sniff out straight. If you know an industry, you can sniff out somebody who's pretending to know it or not knowing it.
Absolutely. The thing is, we're living in a world where presenteeism and you look like you know what you're talking about is the common thing, but actually the people who really know what they're talking about are not in those circles, right? So you walk around these co-working spaces, and everyone looks like a startup entrepreneur, but are they really, But then they're going on reading, an Andrew Chen blog and thinking that they're now the growth expert, and they've never done a business before, and they've never put their money on the line, and never put their neck on the line to do something. They've never picked the phone up and spoke to a customer. So you think to yourself, well, that's not real business. That's kind of like, I don't know, that's like a hobby. That's kind of like the theoretical way of doing business.
No, but I suppose that was what I was touching on a bit earlier about the kind of the Google versus Goldman example, where there's a gold rush. There's been a gold rush out of the university, out of education into that, because it's seen as the, less than 10 years ago, because of the IPO and because of the stuff that Scott did about the four, people just think it's like the default future option for people coming out of college, coming out of university. And then they find out the real experience. But that wasn't said. That's why I think your book is very useful, because it actually gives a reality check, and it gives a kind of very grounded, path them to follow, or at least so we should talk to. Because to your point, Ash, you made a bit earlier, and Hassan as well, is that who before, when you were younger, these things didn't exist. There was 4 steps to the epiphany. There was lean startup. There's more recently been Etienne's work with B2B, lean B2B. There's only a handful of documents out. There's obviously, the Peter Thiel stuff, but what I'm saying is that there's a pragmatic, personalized guide, that's not actually completely theoretical. There's not a lot of stuff out there. You can read a lot. There's a lot of people have jumped on that bandwagon, but there's not a lot of. You've got to read quite wide to get the stuff packed into the value you've brought with unfair advantage. That's what I would say. And I consider myself reasonably well read. So congratulations on that.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much. That was the aim of the book, and we're so happy and proud that and humbled by the fact that someone like yourself from the Silicon Valley days, 30 years in the startup world, is loving what we've written about. And
don't stop bringing up the 30 years. It makes you feel old.
Okay. I'll say 90 years then, dog years, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. No, thanks. Like your mouse years. So I've got a few more questions just to finish off this today's episode.
Yeah, go for it.
Was firstly, I suppose, was about if you were going to distill, further distill using Cubapedia or Alipedia, some takeaways to people that listen to this podcast, people that are founders, co-founders, who want to start something. What would be your few handful of pearls of wisdom that you want to share with them from as a kind of a summary of today's session? Hasan, do you want to go first?
I'll go first. This has been in my head because it's very linked to what we've been talking about, and it's linked to what I've been thinking about a lot about education and upskilling. And Ash and I have been into that space. We're both interested in that space, actually. That's why we do have a lot in common. One of the things is that learning, one of the new mindsets that I'd like to have, a new model for learning, particularly skill-based learning, things which are ultimately practical, is that learning is behavior change.
Mm-hmm.
if it doesn't change your behavior, you haven't learned anything. So this doesn't include learning about history I think it can, because you can take lessons from history, but there are facts and figures, and that's all well and good.
Do you know what I mean?
About the skill, the skills-based learning. It's like just learning the theory of driving and never getting behind the steering wheel. There's no use, and we all fall into that trap. Most of us. It's a rare person that doesn't. There is a certain personality type that doesn't. I don't think Ash really falls into this. I definitely fall into it a lot, which is that we read and acquire a lot of theoretical knowledge first, and way, way too much theoretical knowledge first. And it's based on a fear of failure, a fear of perfectionism, etc. Try to get over that as soon as possible. Stop reading. You've probably read enough about business.
Stop procrastinating.
Stop procrastinating on it. Get started, and then you'll learn. And then all the lessons, all the theory that you're learning, because theory is important too, like actually learning. Then it will click into place, because then your mind can sort of place it into an actual real world experience. And that's when you'll really learn. So one thing to take away is learning is behavior change. A second thing I'll give a bonus one is self-awareness, which is one of the main themes of the book. It's just to be aware, learn about your own skills, more about your own interests, your own passions, your own values, your own circle. Be aware of it. Be aware of your own personality. Be aware of your own drives and motivations. It takes time. It's a journey. It's not, okay, I'm aware of it now. It's not like that. It takes time.
Be your own person. Yeah.
Be yourself. Be your authentic self as much as possible, and then extrapolate on that. But I mean, that's really nice definition Hasan about learning. But there's so many things, of course. But if you were to really think about it in terms of steps, I would say, as a startup founder, you need to really solve a real problem and understand why you're solving that problem. But try and solve the real problem, because I think there's too many people going around trying to solve problems which aren't real problems, and that's when the failure becomes too common. So solve a real problem. Learn to iterate. You're never going to have the best product out the door straight away. Iteration and agile and being failing and iterating is part of the process of success now. And having these mini failures is going to create success. So remember, that's important. The third thing is probably to define what success is. Because if you don't know what success is, then how do you know if you're successful or not? Because there's a lot of people want to become a unicorn, but they don't get there. And you're a £100 million company. Are you successful? Bloody damn right, you are successful, right? So define what success is for yourself. Be a lifelong learner, like Hasan was saying. You have to be a lifelong learner. You have to learn, but apply the learnings. Application of the learning is really important. So be a lifelong learner. It doesn't stop at university. You got to carry on learning, and there's so many places you can learn. And one of the other things which I think is going to mentally support you as well through this real hard journey of entrepreneurship is to have mentors and coaches. Get some mentorship, but have a good coach, because people who've been through it before will know how you feel and empathize with you. So the best coaches are the ones who've already started and done things, and they have the wisdom, but they can empathize with you. And that's really important, because it's this world of startups and business is a lot psychological than it is just practical.
Great. That's really good. That's really useful. I mean, it's also complementary as well. There's a bit of a theme coming through that as well. So thank you. So my last one question then is, you couldn't be on the G&T session without me asking, obviously, a completely random question, like, do you like gin?
we both don't drink, so...
You both don't drink? Well, there you go.
But I'll tell you something, though, actually. There's a brand called Seedlip, and it's a non-alcoholic gin brand. I really enjoy that. So there's 3 different versions. There's a citrus and a spice and a grove version. So
what's it called? Sorry, Seedlip.
Seedlip. SEED.
Okay, yeah.
So I have a lot of friends who don't drink as well now, even though they can drink. So, but we don't drink. So that's probably...
No. I mean, non-alcoholic gin is fine as well. You didn't feel that was a learning.
Yeah. You haven't tried it, Hasan, have you?
No.
No, okay. It's an acquired taste. Let me put it that way. It's an acquired taste, but it's really nice, actually. Just having that. I have my own version that I make at home, a mocktail version, as they say. So,
What about you then, Hassan? Do you get any contribution on that side? Do you any thoughts about the G&T? Maybe you can make it. You could rebrand.
All I know is it looks very refreshing. It's got a kind of brand. It's interesting how you can get a whole aura. It's like martinis with James Bond and stuff like that. It's like there's a whole aura created around the drink based on the kind of glass it's served in and based on the kind of occasion it's drank at and the type of people that drink it. You get a whole identity around it. Yeah, no, it's interesting. I had we just went through a heat wave last week.
Mm-hmm.
And had quite a lot of nice mocktails, and it was very refreshing. But no, I haven't tried any gin, alcoholic or non-alcoholic at all.
See, whatever. You never drink gin.
No, I've never tried. I haven't had any alcoholic drink at all, Andrew.
Ever.
I once had Haagen-Dazs Irish cream. Not realizing.
Oh yeah.
Got Baileys in it.
It's good to know. It's good to know that Ash hasn't driven you to drink yet. But there's always.
Yeah, I know.
Never say never.
I've been on the brink.
We've got other outlets. We have other outlets to get our frustrations out. But we like good food.
This is the thing. Is that this is my legacy, I suppose. Is everybody thinks that the G&T session is about gin and tonic, yeah? There's a lot of people who have approached me. Is this a gin and tonic show, yeah?
Yeah.
Right. Obviously, it's about growth and technology with gifted and talented people like yourselves.
Yeah.
So, see? I've got my hashtags.
Gifted it's growth and talent.
Growth and technology, gifted, and is it gifted and talented?
Growth and technology, growth and tech, gifted and talented. That's what it's obviously what you find is that you get gifted and talented people on the show. So
nice.
Let's honour them. Let's celebrate them. So my final question then is about given your amazing work and amazing work in the future, and obviously people listening to this podcast should definitely keep track of you. How do they find both of you, and how do they keep abreast of what you are doing in the future as you not only move from the UK and Europe but to the world and to Mars with Elon as well, obviously based on the back of Success Decoded.
So Success Decoded is successdecoded.substack.com, and you can sign up there, and then there are links to the podcast on there. And on social media, I'm Startup Hasan. Hasan is with one S, or Hasan Kubba. I'm sure you'll have the links in the description and stuff. But we're active on LinkedIn in particular, and I'm getting more active on Twitter lately.
Okay. And what about Kubapedia?
That's not up yet. I need to get that domain. I need to buy that domain.
Probably this afternoon, I think, based on that.
Yeah.
Hang on a sec, I've just bought it, guys.
Oh, there you go. Oh, you really? Okay. So what about you, Ash?
I'll resell it to you, Hassan. My entrepreneur genes coming into
discuss it. We'll negotiate later.
So how do we get hold of you then, Ash? That was
the question. Yeah. So I'm actually active on LinkedIn. I'm on social media, Ash Ali UK, and also really cool way to get in touch with me is at Uhubs. So we host these live masterclasses. So if you go to uhubs.co.uk, you can come to a live masterclass, and normally I'm around in the networking sessions, and sometimes I might even be hosting a class as well. So you can come and chat to me there.
I know. I've been on one of your masterclasses as well. You've actually been the presenter, haven't you? So
yeah, I've presented some stuff. Yeah, a lot of people keep asking me to do stuff. So I've represented some of my old classic Just Eat marketing, growth marketing sessions I used to do. Hassan's actually doing some great sessions on there. He's got one coming up about how to find mentors as a result of a lot of people asking. So anybody who's read that part of the book and should definitely come along to Hassan's live masterclass that he's doing on the
even if you haven't read it. Even if you haven't read it,
even if you haven't read it, you'll get some great tips on that, and he's got some really nice ideas around that. And I look forward to speaking to all of you. Please tweet us as well. I'm on Ash Ali UK at Twitter as well. And the unfairadvantage.co.uk is our website for the book, but you can find it on Amazon or best book, all the top bookstores. And more recently, we realized our publisher told us that the audiobook is doing really well. So if you're into listening to stuff,
you got it on Audible as well. You got it on Audible.
Yeah, it's on Audible, and Hassan and I both did a 10 minutes of the narration at the start and 15 minutes of the narration of our own stories ourselves. And then we have a professional narrator to do the rest. So it's a really wonderful audiobook. We're very proud of that, actually. So you can listen to our voice again and talking through our story.
I'm never disappointed listening to you two. Wait a minute.
I know we can go on for hours, right? We can go on for hours. That's the thing, right? But,
so I was going to say thank you for coming on the show today. I know that you are extremely busy, so I do appreciate your time. It's been another interesting. Every time I spend time with you guys, it's always entertaining. So thank you for coming on the show today. That was Ash, Ali, and Hasan Kubba of The Unfair Advantage, book authors and all-round general megastars. So no cloaks and pants on top of the trousers yet, but maybe that's in the future. And this is Andrew Turner, the host and founder of the G&T Sessions podcast. And thanks for coming on the episode today. Have a great weekend. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.